feel like you guys know it.
Not at all.
All right, welcome back. All right. Class was a little bumpy this morning. We'll see if you guys do better. Setting a low bar, but it was bumpy. I'm not talking about the Wi-Fi. That was bumpy. All right, who's next? All right, so let's start with questions. This is review. The poll question here is review. So do question number 1, multiple choice. This is going to be 1A. Question's this. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex for life, comma. Then to Baker and her heirs if Baker survives Alex. Question 1A. What future interest does Baker have? A, vested remainder. B, contingent remainder. C, reversion. All right, another 10 seconds. Everyone put your answers in. All right, name tags out, everyone as well, please. Thank you. I shouldn't have to remind you, or this is happening for the semester. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to stop it here. If you didn't get your answer, it's taking too long. All right, Andres. So walk me through this question one step at a time, okay? Blackacre from Ollie to Alex for life. Alex has a life estate. What's the next step in your analysis?
The next step in my analysis, after we say that it has a life estate, goes to now figuring out what kind of interest Baker has.
Okay.
Which would be
Oh, just one step at a time. We have a life estate. When a future interest follows a life estate, what are we generally assuming it's going to be?
Oh, it's going to be it's going to be a remainder. It has to go somewhere.
Has to go somewhere. Remainder or reversion, right? Which one is it here?
It's going to be a remainder.
Why is there a remainder in this question? That's step 1.
It's a future interest that follows the natural promotion, present interest, and then goes to the third one.
Very good. The future interest that follows the natural termination of a present interest, in this case, a life estate, doesn't have to be a life estate. In this case, it's a life estate. Goes to a third person. All right, so we have a remainder. Can we stop there?
No.
Okay, what do we do next?
Well, reading the sentence, you know that there is a condition precedent.
There is a condition precedent. What's the condition precedent?
Basically, he has to survive. Baker has to survive Alex.
And how do you know that's a condition precedent and not a condition subsequent?
Because it has to happen before.
Good. This is a condition precedent. I'll make it a little bigger so everyone can see it. This is a condition precedent. And you know that because the condition must happen before Baker gets it. Baker's either alive or dead. If Baker's alive, mazel tov, you get the property. Baker's dead, her heirs get nothing. The trick also is that this phrase if, it's within the same clause, right? It's within the same clause of text. It's before the period, after the comma, before the period. If the, I hate saying this way, if the word if comes after the comma, you are in a different clause. It's no longer condition precedent. Precedent means before, it precedes. All right, so I'll just finish it up. If you have a remainder with a condition precedent, what kind of remainder is it? It's a contingent remainder. So the answer here is B. Very good. Let's see what we got. Look, this morning did not go well. It took me 4 people to get this one right. So you're doing better. All right, good. I was a little bit salty this morning. Yeah, but look, it's frustrating because I go so slow, and then people say, I don't know what investor remainder is, right? The answer is B. Good. 90 was only one or two of you got it wrong. Also, you're all cheating, right? Which is also possible. I don't know, but at least from my perspective, I can take solace that okay, almost all of you got this right. Good. The answer is B. Very good. Oh, you're doing the flip thing. I swear, I should charge replacements for these cards. All right, everyone, do question 1B. There's actually there was a judge, I think it was in Wisconsin, who got annoyed that people always bring like these giant gulp cups to court, and so he actually made an official court mug. They had to bring like one of these travel mugs with the court's logo on it, and like people couldn't lose it because that was the only cup you're allowed to drink it from the court. It's failing. So judges do weird things, but fine. All right. So what future interest does Ollie have here? I'll take another 15 seconds, please, for 20 seconds. All right. 5 seconds. All right, stop it there. Victoria, what does Ollie have here? First off, does Ollie have any interest here? How do we know Ollie has to have interest here? Because it doesn't say Ollie, right? Ollie's not mentioned anywhere in the question that gets him to a future interest. How do you know Ollie is a future interest?
Alex gets up life the same as Baker only gets the as a future interest reasonable pending.
Okay, you're working way too hard. Okay, so start beginning.
Oh, sorry, I'm just assuming. We're assuming.
Okay, in this question, right? Andres already told us there's a contingent remainder, right? What happens if Baker's already dead when Alex dies? I'm sorry? Who gets nothing? Well, Baker's dead, right? But what about Blackacre? Where's Blackacre go? How do you know that? And is that stated anywhere in the question? Right, but does it say that Ollie ever gets it back?
No.
How do we know Ollie gets it back? That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. I think you said before, but I want to make sure we get back to the point. We're drawing an assumption. We're making an inference. We're assuming that upon Baker's death before Alex, it's got to go somewhere. And the only place it can go is to Ollie. That will not always be the correct assumption. In fact, I think today we'll see an example where it's not the correct assumption. But when you have a contingent remainder, something must come after it. There's got to be something to anticipate that. 1 second. So then, Victoria, what do we call the future interest that Ollie has?
Reversion.
Why is it a reversion?
Because it's a future interest in policy termination.
Okay, what's the natural termination here?
That Baker's the right.
No, that's not right. What's the natural termination here? Now, I'll give you hints. It's the same one that Andres said a minute ago. What's the natural termination here? It's not Baker. Alex's death, right? Immediately upon Alex's death, we see, is Baker alive? Nope. Back to Ollie. So last question for you, Victoria. Why is it not a contingent reversion? There is no such thing. Okay, good. You smoked out my trick question. One person put contingent reversion. But 70% of you got it right. My goodness, about 10% of you put possibly reversion. You fell into the trap. You fell into the trap. I warned you. Did I warn you, right? I warned you. There is no such thing as the possibility of reversion. I actually made these up. I was getting creative on last night. There's no such thing as a contingent reversion. That's not a thing. There's no such thing as a contingent reverter. Did anyone put that? No, put C. Okay, good. And there's no such thing as a possible reversion. There's no such thing. There's only reversion, period. You have vested contingent remainders, but you only have reversion. Now, some of you put none of the above. You don't put none of the above. Want to explain what was going, why you thought it's not? I didn't forget about you. I promise. I didn't forget about you. I want to just get to this question. No one wants to volunteer? Well, perhaps you're thinking there is no future interest for Ollie, right? That would, I mean, I don't need to actually, but they say you never ask a question you know the answer to, right? So I know what you're thinking, right? Ollie has to have a reversion. When there's a contingent remainder, there must be something that comes after it. It could be another remainder. We'll see that later in class. Or it could be a reversion. But there has to be something. I deliberately put this option D there to try and see if you understood what happens after the death of Baker. All right, so the answer here is A. Again, you guys are better off in my morning section. They were on a rocky storm this morning, but this is okay. All right, Samaya, you were patiently waiting. I'm sorry to make you wait so long.
I have a question. In the book case, when it mentions this example, it says not certain to become possessory. Do we include that in the sentence, or do we just end it?
Well, what I would say is, if you're writing this in an essay, you would say it's reversion because it's not certain to become possessory. It may happen, may not happen, right?
Okay.
But it's called reversion. It's not possibility reversion, contingent reversion, what else are a contingent reverter, right? Because again, we'll do in class possibility reverter. We'll do in class possibly reverter. I basically made this up to try and trick you, and at least 15 of you fell for it. That's what I had somewhere here. Yeah.
So I think you just answered the question, but I didn't quite hear it. So what would you say on the test after reversion?
Okay, so on any test, right? If you give me the what, if you just wrote there is a reversion for Ollie, that's good. That's partial credit. Why? It's a reversion because there's a possibility after the death of Baker that it goes back to Ollie. And that's a future interest after a natural termination. That's the death of Alex, and it goes back to the grantor. But the key point is it's reversion in this case because there's a contingent remainder. It follows the contingent remainder. You always need to go clause by clause, right? Comma by comma all the way to the period. Don't stop till you get to the end of the sentence. All right. Everybody with me? Yeah? Okay. All right, Molly, the next one's for you, but I'll read it first. All right, so this is going to be question number 2. From Ollie to Alex for life, comma, that's Baker and heirs. What future interest does Baker have? Take your time. All right, another 10 seconds. All righty. All right, Molly, let's walk through this one step at a time, okay? Alex is a life estate. What is the future interest that follows a life estate? Okay, good. How do you know it's remainder?
Future interest that follows a natural.
Good. Very good. And it goes to a, thank you very much. Okay, so we know we have a remainder. All right, so now we have our second level, right? Is this remainder vested or is this remainder contingent?
Vested.
Okay, so how do you know it's vested?
Because it is not subject to a condition.
Okay, I'll stop. Just pause right there. There's no condition precedent here, right? You don't see the word if. It goes right to Baker. No ifs, no conditions. Okay, what's our second criteria?
It was given to an ascertained person.
Good. Who's ascertained here?
Baker.
And this sounds like a dumb question, but I want to just make sure everyone knows. What does it mean for Baker to be ascertained? They exist. Right. They're named. They're named. We name Baker. So because those two things are true, is this vested or contingent? Very good. Let's see what we got. Okay, 94%. I'll take that one. A couple of you put none of the above. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe because there's reversion. I'm not sure. Everyone put. No one wants to volunteer. Yeah, Clark.
I just was thinking it was just a remainder. I wasn't in terms of like I realize now that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That. Same.
No, I was because heirs. I thought that wasn't ascertainable.
No, but what does and her heirs mean?
Just like.
That means it's a fee simple.
Fee simple, right?
So I mean, I didn't put this in the choice, but this would be a vest remainder in fee simple.
So if there's like,
Whenever you see enter heirs, that always just means fee simple. It's not referring to unascertained people, right? Because again, Sophia, an heir cannot be determined until death, right? So heirs are never ascertained. They're never ascertained. So that's not the clue. It'd be children. That's the clue, right? Because children are specific people who can be born or not born. Heirs, we don't know who their heirs are yet. But yeah, going forward for your notes, it is no longer enough to just write remainder. That's not a complete answer. You have partial credit. I want to know, is it a vested remainder or is it a contingent remainder? Just give me remainder, you get yourself partial credit. Good job. Want the full credit? Tell me what kind of remainder it is and why. The way that Molly did a minute ago is very good. She walked through those two criteria. Even if it's vested, it's like, oh, of course, it's obvious, right? We've done this question 100 times, right? Still walk through those two factors. And the reason why I'm giving you such a hard time, and I'm being a little bit of a stickler on this, is the questions get very weird at the end of this class. If you looked ahead, they get weird. They'll get weird actually after 30 seconds, right? And if you skip these steps, you'll get these questions wrong. Promise you, you'll get them wrong. That's why I got so annoyed in my first class, because they were skipping steps, and we barely finished. So I think we're on better track. It took me 30 minutes to get, I think, up to the end of these two questions. All right. Everyone with me? All right, so Madi, this will be number 3 with you. Let me read it. All right, and this one should look familiar. I'll tell you later where it's from, but this one should look familiar to you guys. This is number 3. From John to Anna for life, comma. Then to Anna's children and their heirs, comma. But if Anna dies without children, comma. Then to John's grandchildren and their heirs, comma. I tell you that Anna has no children, and John has 3 grandchildren. That's the setup. And then we have to question 3A. What future interest does Anna's children have? Vested remainder. Vested remainder subject to open. Contingent remainder. Contingent remainder subject to open. And everyone's favorite, none of the above. Take another 20 seconds to think about it. All right, Marty. Help us out here. Let's walk through this one step at a time, right? So we say from John to Anna for life. That means Anna's life is safe always. Comma. Then to Anna's children and their heirs. That's the second clause. What type of future interest do the children have?
It's a remainder.
Okay, so again, why is it a remainder?
It's a remainder because it's a future interest that follows a natural termination.
Good.
Present interest, and most of the-
Good. And what's the natural termination here?
It Anna's life.
Life is safe. Very good. Okay. Is this remainder vested or contingent?
It's contingent.
Okay, why do you say it's contingent?
Because Anna doesn't have any children. I'm assuming she doesn't have any.
No, you're not assuming. I tell you.
Yeah.
Is that an assumption, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, so Anna has no kids. And why does it make a contingent remainder?
It's a contingent remainder because she has to have kids first before the kids go.
So there are 2 criteria for contingent remainder.
Oh, yeah.
So what? Go through your 2 factors.
Ascertained,
Okay. Are her children ascertained yet?
not yet.
Because they're not born. What about the second one?
It has to be condition precedent.
Is there a condition precedent?
There is.
No, there's not. Do you see a condition precedent in the text I just highlighted?
Oh, not that part.
Everyone makes this mistake. Everyone, I'm not just mad at Mahdi. Everyone makes this mistake. And it's actually easy to conceal this mistake because they're not ascertained. Whereas it was contingent in any event. There is no condition precedent here. the condition comes after the comma. You see that? Everyone see that, right? I've been telling you this now for a week. The punctuation really matters. The condition comes after the comma. Then to add his children their heirs, comma, but if. This is not a condition precedent. This is a condition subsequent, yes. In fact, if you think of the reading for today, the but if, remember the fee simple subject condition subsequent? But if is your keyword for condition subsequent. This is why actually I flipped the topics. It makes more sense to do it in this order. There's no condition precedent here. There's a condition subsequent. Right? So Mahdi is correct. The answer here is that there's a contingent remainder. I'm not done with the question yet. There is a contingent remainder. But it's because the children are not ascertained. Again, you can get the right answer for the wrong reason here, which is what a lot of people do on the exam. They'll put the right answer but the wrong reason, and you get partial credit for that. But if you say that there's a condition precedent here, you're wrong. There's not. There's a condition subsequent. It comes after the comma. Pay super close attention to the punctuation, especially when we get to the next topic, the fee simple subject, the condition subsequent. You need to know where the condition comes, before or after. You think, Josh, who the hell cares where you put the condition? It matters. Right? It really makes a difference in the law whether it's condition precedent or condition subsequent. It's a huge difference. All right. Now, Mahdi, last question for you. Is this a contingent remainder period or contingent remainder subject to open?
From what I remember, it would be subject to open if we started ascertaining.
Is there such a thing, Mahdi, as a contingent remainder subject to open?
There is none. I mean, the vested remainder subject to open.
So what's your answer here?
No, there's no condition remainder subject to open.
So what's your answer here?
Would be C.
Oh, this is close. Look at this spread. The answer here is C. The answer here is C, and I want to walk through this one step at a time. All right? Only one of you put vested remainder. That's just wrong, right? Some of you put vested remainder subject to open, and I know why you put that. You said, well, there's children. There are no kids now, but maybe they're going to be kids later, right? A couple of you, at least 10 of you, did that. That's a logical answer, but you have to remember, a vested remainder must have those two criteria. You have to have at least one ascertained child and no condition precedent. There are 0 ascertained children now. You cannot have a vested remainder if there are 0 ascertained children. So A and B are out, right? A and B are out. All right, so now you have C and D. There is no such thing as a contingent remainder subject to open. That doesn't exist, right? It does not exist. It's not a thing. The very nature of a contingent remainder is it's contingent, right? It's variable. We don't really know what's going on there. Whether or not children born to that class or not is irrelevant because at the time it was created, there were 0 people in that class. So D is not a thing. Look, 23 people put that. The correct answer here is C. And a bunch of you put none of the above again. I don't know if none of the above one.
I didn't read the bullet, but I read the untitled children. So when I was reading the question, I thought it was like, oh.
You're trying to trick me with the life estate.
No, I thought the starter children were dead. So
Oh.
I just read the question.
Okay, well, no. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the honesty. Does everyone get why that one's contingent? Why that one's C? Yes, Simon.
Could you just re-explain why contingent remainder subject to open just logically?
It doesn't exist. Well, first, it doesn't exist, right?
Right. I mean, I get that,
And the reason logically is the very nature of a contingent remainder is it's contingent, it's uncertain, right? We expect that class to shrink and grow. You don't need to clarify it. But the better answer is it's not a thing. I made it up.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a possible reversion. It doesn't exist. I'm asking these questions quite consciously to try and make sure you get your vocabulary right. Samaya and then Gabriel.
Well, for vested remainder, I know you must have the ascertained person and no condition precedent.
Correct.
Contingent remainder, it's given to an unascertained person,
Or
okay.
it's actually and or, right? And this is what I described last class. With the negatives, it's kind of hard. But for it to be vested, 2 things have to be true. there is an ascertained person and no condition precedent. For a contingent remainder, one or both can be true. If there's an unascertained person, contingent. If there's a condition precedent, contingent. But they might both be true, but it's contingent in any regard.
But here.
There's
oh,
only-
okay, but it's-
in here,
it's disjunctive,
Right,
even though there's the-
disjunctive, yeah, exactly right. Here it's disjunctive, it's or. Here, there's no condition precedent, but there is an unascertained person. The children are unascertained. It's hard with all the negative. I get you. It's really hard. You have to run in your head. Gabriel, then Deborah.
So could you reiterate the grammatical a little bit? I think I'm still confused. So the condition subsequent is because
After the
it
comma.
came after the comma.
Yeah.
So it's condition.
It would be in the same, go back to question 2, right above. All right, go back to question 2, right above. I can't get to my computer quickly enough and scroll, but here we go. All right, look at question number 2, right above. The if is within the same clause, right? The children, and this is sort of like a trick, but it describes what's actually happening. The condition comes before the kids get it, right? In the next one, the condition comes after the kids get it. So everyone see the difference between number 1 and number, what is it, 3? 3, right? The condition comes after the clause, right? Then to Anna's children. If I just put a period here, Gabriel, right? I just put a period here, right? It would be a vested remainder, right? But I'm telling you, she has no kids. It's got to be contingent, and the contingent comes afterwards. Okay, Deborah, and then Andres.
So the fact, when you highlighted the part that just said then to Anna's children and their heirs, that's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent?
Don't go there yet. No. We'll do that later in this class. It's not. The reason why is because there's a life estate in there, right?
So
The present interest is a life estate. There's no fee simple in this question.
the fact that it had a condition subsequent though, there wasn't a condition.
I didn't say it was a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. I said it was a condition supplement. It's a logical thing. It's not a property interest.
Okay, but that part, it doesn't change the
No.
fact that it's a contingent limit.
No, it does not. It's irrelevant. What comes after the comma is irrelevant. I'm sorry?
Is that a trick?
No, there's no trick there. No. Everything that comes after the comma is irrelevant. It doesn't matter for the children's interest. It's going to matter for the other one's interest. We usually get to 3B in a second. We do 3B yet.
You answered my question.
Let's do 3B. I think I might answer your question, right? So again, 3A is contingent remainder, right? Because the condition comes after that. Now let's do 3B, and this is going to be for Lauren. I don't think you have all the same screen. Let me make it a little bit smaller. I apologize. Hopefully you can see it. If you can't, it's on your desktop. 3B. Guys, just drop the side talk. 3B. What future interest does Anna's children have? What future interest does Anna's children have? And again, the grandchildren. The grandchildren, there are 3 of them. They're alive. I told you.
First, 3A or
3B. Everyone, 3B. I'm sorry if I misspoke. Alrighty. I think I just run in. Lauren, walk me through this one, right? So we said that the children have a contingent remainder. What future interest follows the children's contingent remainder? There are choices here. There is what kind of future interest follows? What kind of future interest follows the contingent remainder? Well, let's talk about this in plain English, right? In what circumstances would the grandchildren ever get Blackacre? What would have to happen for the grandchildren to get Blackacre?
Anna would have to die without children.
Ah, so Anna's death. What do we call Anna's death? What do we refer to that as?
Condition precedent.
You're not wrong, but generally speaking, what do we call Anna's death? What's that referred to as? No, a death is not a condition.
Natural termination.
Good. So the grandkids would get Blackacre after a natural termination, right? What do we call, Lauren, a future interest that follows a natural termination? It's a remainder. Okay. Now is this remainder vested or is this remainder contingent?
Contingent.
How do you know that?
Because it is depending on the precedent to happen.
I think you said the right answer. I'm not sure. What are the two steps to determine if there's a contingent remainder? There's two steps.
Given to an unascertained person.
Okay, so stop right there. Are the grandchildren ascertained?
No.
I'm not sure. There might have been an un in there. Are the grandchildren ascertained? I've told you there are 3 living grandchildren. Are they ascertained? Okay, how do you know they're ascertained? They're alive, right? They exist. Okay, so now comes the second question. Is there a condition precedent for the grandchildren's remainder?
Yes.
Yes, there is. What's that condition precedent?
Anna has to die without children.
Okay, and how do you know this is a condition precedent and not a condition subsequent?
Because it comes after the comma.
It does. Well, be careful. This is the remainder for the grandchildren, right? Comma. Then to John's grandchildren and their heirs, right? Where does the condition come, Lauren?
After the condition precedent.
So I'll address again. This is the clause for the grandchildren, right? Where does the condition come?
After the comma.
But before,
I have no.
there are several commas. When we say after the comma, it's actually not very helpful. Let's try this again. Does the condition come before or after the grandkids remainder clause?
Before.
Before. Everyone see that? The condition comes before the clause for the remainder of the grandchildren. Lauren, what do you call the condition that comes before the remainder?
Condition precedent.
Condition precedent. And what do you call a remainder with a condition precedent? Contingent remainder. This is a contingent remainder, right? It's contingent for one reason. There is a condition that comes before the remainder. Literally, look, comma, but if Anna dies without children, then to John's grandchildren. There's no circumstance. Let me do that to negatives, I'm sorry. The only way for the grandkids to get it is to satisfy that condition first. That condition must be satisfied first, and then they get it. The grandkids have a contingent remainder. Alyssa.
Why are John's grandchildren considered ascertained if they're not technically named?
I
Just
told
that
you they
because they're
exist.
alive?
They're alive. Yeah, I mean, they don't have, hey, Larry, Noah, and Curly, right? There you go, right? If I tell you you have 3 grandkids, they're ascertained. I don't need to give you their names.
So, okay, if the sentence had ended after then to Anna's children and their heirs, do you assume that Anna's children are alive?
Unless I tell you, you can't make that assumption.
Okay, so you assume that they're not, that they're unascertained?
Don't make any assumption. Look, if I don't tell you she has any living children, then I think you can correctly argue that they're not ascertained.
So you could argue either way, basically?
Yeah. But I mean, I think actually the better argument is we have no evidence that she has children, so we assume they're not ascertained.
Okay.
I will not, I shouldn't say that. If you read the question carefully, it'll be obvious what I'm trying to get at.
So as long as you give us information that they exist.
Yes,
they're
that's enough.
ascertained.
Yes, that's enough. I don't have to know their names. I mean, just think back in the olden days. You didn't need, there were no records. Oh yeah, Anna had a son. I can't remember his name. That's good enough. Tony?
Briefly, just touch on vested remainder subject to open.
Not right now, but I will.
Okay.
I want to finish this question first. Does everyone see why it's contingent remainder? Tony, is this a vested remainder subject? I'm sorry, is this a contingent remainder subject to open?
I mean, it's definitely a contingent remainder. Subject to open, no.
Why not?
I mean, when you talk about subject to open, wouldn't it mean that the class?
Well, there could be more grandkids born, can't there?
Sure.
So is the contingent remainder subject to open?
I mean, if there's more grandkids.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I said it 5 minutes ago. Is there such a thing as a contingent remainder subject to
No,
open?
no, there's not.
There's not.
There is not.
That's not a thing. Look, I tricked you on this twice in 5 minutes. It's going to be, it's a hard topic. Let's see what we got. Most of you put C, which is correct. Most of you put C, which is correct. A couple of you fell for the trap. The vested remainder is subject to open. And a lot of you fell to A lot of you fell into those traps. So, Tony, let me answer this. Well, when I said I'll answer it later, I meant in 30 seconds. This is just a natural instinct of kids, or I shouldn't call you kids, right? You're lost. It's like you're all like kids, right? Even though you're not. Lord help me, right? Way too many ears. Students have this tendency when they think, oh, there's a class of people, children, it's got to be subject to open, right? You just have this natural tendency that there's got to be more. The only way you have a subject to open is when it's paired to a vested remainder, right? And there has to be a vested remainder in the first place. This remainder cannot be vested because of the condition precedent. I said it again. In 3B, the remainder cannot be vested because of the condition precedent. If you get the vested part wrong, you're going to get the second part wrong as well. So first you ask yourself, is it a remainder? Yes or no? Then you ask, is it vested or contingent? If it's contingent, you stop. But if it's vested, you have a third question. Is it vested remainder subject to open? But there's another layer to go down. All right? There is no contingent remainder subject to open. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. Don't make it up. All right? Don't make up property interest. They're enough for you to memorize. You don't have to make ones up that don't exist. And no, don't put none of the above. Okay. So again, it's not bad. It's 60%. That's not 90%. You guys were at 90% for the start of class. Now you're at 60%, which is a little bit better than a coin toss. So it's not bad, but you need to work on this. So again, you ask if it's a remainder, is it vested or contingent? If it's contingent, you stop. If it's vested, you ask, is it subject to open? Don't go down the contingent subject to open route. One other point. If you notice, 3A and 3B are both contingent remainders. Those are what we call the alternative contingent remainders, right? Usually when there's one contingent remainder followed by another remainder, they're both contingent. Not always, don't take that to the bank, but it's a pretty good indication. All right, everyone get Trey. Well, right. So those are the options, right? Go back to question number 1. In question number 1, you had a contingent remainder followed by reversion. If you notice, there's only 2 people here, right? I'm sorry, there are 3 people. There's Ollie, Alex, and Blackacre. If there's a reversion, if the contingent remainder doesn't go to a third party, it goes back to reversion. It goes back to the grantor. But here, we have more parties. We have John, Anna, the children, and the grandchildren. We have 4 parties. In the question number 1, we had 3 parties. And in question number 3, we have 4 parties. So we'll never go back to John or John's heirs, right? It will only go to either Anna's children or John's grandchildren. By the way, if this looks familiar, it should. This is Baker versus Whedon. Right? I didn't give it to you then because you weren't ready for it yet, which is why I think the book is completely out of order. Everything's just wrong order. But if you do the case summary For Baker v. Sweden, I walked through this exact example in some detail, so it should not be entirely new. Andres.
The opposite of subject to open would be.
I'm sorry, say it again?
What's the opposite of subject to open when you're going through that?
Well, there's no opposite. It's either subject to open or just nothing. Right, best remainder period. Right, it's not like subject to close. That's not a thing. Tony.
So you said the question is to ask, first identify if it's a remainder, and then ask, is it contingent or subject to open, or that's it?
Always, you ask yourself, if there's a line to say what follows it, it's probably a remainder reversion. So if it's reversion, stop. If it's a remainder, you say, is it vested? If it's contingent, stop. Got it. If it's vested, you have to does it vested subject to open. So there are many layers, and it gets even worse after this spot. True. Yeah, about 40 minutes, about the same time as morning class. All right. Just for 3 questions. No, don't be mad at yourself. You guys are doing better. But, it takes its own time, but it requires you to know the rules. If you don't memorize these rules, you're going to be lost. Guys, Trey, no, we're not doing this sort of side. There's not a break ever on Zoom. We God willing, never again. No more break rooms ever. I never want to use them. I hate them. They won't feel like break rooms. I'm sorry. They're terrible. All right. Enough. Okay. What else? Gabriel?
In that process, where does the ascertain, because he has 3 grandchildren, does he have more?
Doesn't matter. It's still contingent remainder. It's the fact that it's contingent means we don't know what's going to happen. It's sort of up in the air. We don't really care why, but it's contingent. Everyone get question 3, Armin.
So 3A, sorry to go back, but 3A is contingent remainder because it's not no.
Correct. They're not ascertained. 3A is contingent because they're not ascertained. 3B is contingent because there's a condition precedent. Right? They're contingent for different reasons. And I like this question the way it's framed because it teaches both aspects of it. Right? Good question. You're welcome. No, some questions are good. Some questions are better than others. Well, some questions are because the student doesn't understand. Others are designed to actually it teaches a good point, and that if you illustrate a point that I forgot to mention, that's true. All right. Looking around, look at these blank faces. On Tuesday, maybe I'll see faces. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. All right. Any more questions on 1, 2, or 3? No. All right, let's move on to new stuff. And if you don't get this, go back and rewatch YouTube for these three questions because we are blowing past this. We're going to have to do material now. All right, where do I start? All right, let's start here. All right, we've started so far with 2 types of present interest. We've done, of course, the life estate, and we've done the fee simple. And we said that the very definition of a fee simple is you have the entire bundle of stakes. You can control the present interest and the future interest. A fee simple will never terminate unless someone wants to terminate. They can destroy their own bundle of sticks, but in theory, at least, a fee simple can stay in the same family for millennia, right, forever. But this is the type of fee simple that might be called a fee simple absolute. Right, that lasts forever. The law recognizes other fee simples that are not forever. Fee simples that can terminate. Fee simples that can be cut short. Okay? There's a category, and this category is called the fee simple, the feasible. Fee simple, defeasible. What does defeasible mean? It's a word which probably none of you ever actually used before unless you looked it up last night, right? A fee simple defeasible is a fee simple that can be terminated and cut short. Defeasible just means can be cut short, right? I don't know why we use this word, that's the word we use. A fee simple defeasible is a fee simple that can be cut short. But say, wait a minute, Josh, that means you don't have the full bundle of 6. Exactly what that means. With a fee simple defeasible, you do not have the full bundle of 6. Someone else has a future interest lurking. There's some future interest somewhere. You just have to find it. You're almost like a detective. It's not always going to be easy where the future interest goes. Sometimes it can be really hard to figure it out. Okay? Again, defeasible just means capable of termination, can be cut short. So look at example 1A, for example. It says, Ollie gives Blackacre to Alex for a specific purpose to operate a school on Blackacre. But if a school is no longer operating on Blackacre, then Blackacre goes back to Ollie. So look, as long as Blackacre is used for one purpose, it stays with the school. Right? Alex gets to keep it. But if Alex builds condos on it for residential purposes, it goes back to Ollie. This is different than anything you read before. Every question I've given you is always from O to A for life. Always to Alex for life. Go back in your notes. Every question is to Alex for life. I always start off with a natural termination. This is not a natural termination. This is a termination based on some condition happening. So the present interest is not going to be a life estate. It's going to be something else. It's going to be a fee simple defeasible. Everyone with me? Now again, fee simple defeasible. There are 3 types of fee simple defeasibles. We'll do 2 of them today and a third one on Monday, or Tuesday, I'm sorry. There are 3 types of fee simple defeasibles. There's the fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. There's the fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. You've already studied condition precedents with contingent remainders. This is going to be a condition subsequent. It's different. I'll show what that looks like in a few minutes. The second type of fee simple defeasible is the fee simple determinable. Fee simple determinable. The word determine means terminate or to end or to cut short. Right? Determinable means to cut short. Now I'm warning you. Look at this. Fee simple defeasible, fee simple determinable. You will confuse them. I promise you, you will. It's so I swear, this topic was created by people who want to torture law students. It's just painful. Right? There's no reason on planet Earth to have defeasible determinable so close, right? It's mean. But it's what you got. Fee simple determinable is a type of a fee simple defeasible, right? Fee simple defeasible is like the category of the umbrella, and fee simple determinable is one type of a fee simple defeasible. All right. It's going to hurt your head, I know. That's where we are. Everyone with me? Trey? They have the same meaning. They both can be cut short, which is why it's insane. They mean the exact same thing. Defeasible means can be cut short. Determinable means can be cut short. They have the same meaning. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't. I've actually asked around to the professors, like, we have no idea. It's like just to torture law students. That's why this exists. And then the third one, which we'll cover in class next week, we will not do today, is the fee simple subject to an executory limitation or interest. You'll see it different ways. A fee simple subject to an executory limitation or interest. You'll see both ways. Yes, Carissa. Do not abbreviate.
Okay,
By the way, I'll go back to it. Do not abbreviate. You want to write FSSCS? Don't. Please don't. Spell it out because you're going to forget what they stand for. All right, just trust me on this one. Don't abbreviate. Go ahead, Carissa.
When we're writing these out, do we say like fee simple, defeasible subject to a condition?
No.
Defeasible?
You can leave out defeasible.
Okay.
You're not wrong, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
But yeah, but good question. But don't abbreviate it. Someone in the other class said, "Can I abbreviate?" I'm like, "No, I yelled at them. I feel bad, but don't abbreviate. It's a bad idea. You're gonna confuse yourself. It's a mouthful. Fee simple subject to condition subsequent. It's just like your mouth just wants like bleh. But you gotta say it out. Is that him? Everyone with me? All right. So let's take a look. I got more examples. All right. So again, 1B is the same example we had before, right? And we'll just review it. Trey, what is the future interest in example 1B on the screen? I don't need to do the poll for this one again. You already did it. What's future interest in 1B?
Future interest, subject to the condition.
Okay. What do we call that future interest?
Contingent,
A contingent what?
remainder,
Why is remainder contingent?
because it follows the natural termination of a present interest.
Okay. And keep going.
And, it's,
Why is it a remainder? Let's do that one first. Why is this a remainder?
because it goes to a third party,
And
follows the natural termination.
thank you. Don't skip the first one. You're going to hate yourself if you do it in 20 minutes. It follows a natural termination and goes to a third party. That's why it's a remainder. Why is it a contingent remainder?
Because of the condition, if Baker.
What do we call that condition? What kind of condition is it, Trey?
A condition, precedent,
Why is it a condition precedent?
because it has to happen before,
Good. And where does it appear in the sentence? That's the other part I want to ask you about.
well, after the comma.
Which, again, there are multiple commas, and this was, I think, with Molly once before. There are multiple commas in the sentence, right? Or, oh, I'm sorry, I was Vanessa. Right, whoever it was. There are multiple commas. Whoever it was, I can't remember. They're looking at each other, looking at me. There are multiple commas. You got to be more specific, Trey. Where does it appear? Which clause does it appear in? Which clause does the condition appear in?
The remainder clause
The same clause with the remainder for who?
for Baker.
Correct. Good. Thank you. It's a condition precedent. Grammatically, right? The condition appears in the same clause as Baker's remainder. Good. Thanks, Trey. Everyone see why that's a condition precedent? Yeah? Now we're going to do something new. Go to example 1C. This will be for Jason. Okay? Example 1C. It says, I'll make it a little bit bigger. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, comma, right? But if Alex does not use Blackacre for school purposes, comma, Ollie has a right to re-enter Blackacre. So this is different. There's no life estate. Every question's always been from O to Alex for life, always. But this is different. So Jason, let's walk through this, right? If I just said Blackacre from Ollie to Alex for life, period. If I just stopped it right there, what would Ollie have? Blackacre from Ollie, I'm sorry, I did the wrong one. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, period. That's all I said. What would Alex have? Absolutely, be simple, right? But I don't put a period there, but a comma. You've not seen that before. Usually when it's a fee simple, it stops right there. But this is going to be some other type of fee simple. What kind of fee simple is this going to be?
I think it's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent,
How do you know that?
because there's a condition after the conveyance of the fee simple.
Perfect. Excellent. Good job. This is a fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. Literally, there's a fee simple followed by a condition. The condition comes subsequent to the fee simple. We say that, what am I doing? 1C. Alex has a present interest in fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. Alex has a present interest in fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. And for the exact reason Jason said, it's literally a condition that comes after the fee simple. Just think about what it means. Fee simple subject to condition subsequent. It means a fee simple that's followed by a condition. This is why I don't abbreviate. If you do FSC, SCS, whatever it is, you're not going to remember condition subsequent, condition afterwards. you need to distinguish between condition subsequent here and condition precedent here. In 1B, there's a condition precedent, and in 1C, there's a condition subsequent. Do you all see that, right? In 1B, the condition comes in the same clause, and in 1C, the condition comes after the fee simple, right? Pay attention to where the words but if appear. That will be your guide, right? Look where the word if is placed.
I don't know if it's fee simple or not of a life estate, because it doesn't say any heirs.
What's the presumption? We don't clarify what type of interest is. What do we presume it is?
Fee simple.
Yeah, unless I tell you for life, the presumption is it's not life estate. If I just say to, yeah, please, just if you want to ask a question, raise your hand, right? If I don't tell you for life, and I just say to from O to A, period, you presume it's a fee simple. Right? Is that your question?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, I don't like side talk. It makes it very hard to, it's unfair to your classmates also, because you don't have to listen to. Smeek, is your hand up?
Kinda. So the way that so the way that I write it out is I write it out like how you said it, and then underneath that, are we so close to always have like where you had like condition precedent and then condition?
Oh, you're asking a good question, right? So here the condition subsequent is it has to be used for school purposes. You can write that out. Yeah, okay, I'll do that for you. I wasn't going to, but sure, it's a good question. The condition, no, you're absolutely right to ask me that question. So the condition subsequent is that Blackacre must be used for school purposes. Perfect, good. But the key point is subsequent, right? It's after the fee simple. And you know this because it's fee simple, comma, blah, 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 but if, right? That's the key point, right? Now you have to know some language, right? You know it's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent because there's conditional language, right? What's conditional language? But if, provided, however, right? These are these sorts of words, or on the condition that is the one that you might see, right? But if, provided, however, on the condition that. These are words, if you see them, you know it's going to be a condition subsequent. Not always, but almost always. All right. So in 1C, the present interest is the fee simple subject to the condition subsequent. Everyone through the present interest. Armin?
So the conditional language is our justification for why we choose.
Correct. Correct. Yes, Sophia.
Could you like say it was condition subsequent if you know that that's the only one that they can have the right of reentry?
I'm gonna, and not yet. I'm not doing that one yet. You sort of answered the next question, but I'm not doing that yet. I'll come back to you in 2 minutes. So you can yell at me. Trey.
So those like conditional words, I know you haven't talked about that chart yet,
No. Do the Trey in the class.
but those words are like they signify
Yes.
what that.
Those words, provided, however, but if, signify that you probably, not always, you probably have a fee simple subject condition subsequent. But look at 1B, right? Just I want you guys to be very careful. This is where law students make mistakes. 1B. The word if appears in 1B, doesn't it? You need to know that's a remainder. Because with the remainder, it's condition precedent. Right? Don't mix up. A lot of students will say, this is a life estate, followed by a fee simple subject condition subsequent. Wrong. The fee simple subject condition subsequent is a present interest. Here, the present interest is life estate. Or even worse, they'll say, it's a life estate followed by right of entry. Wrong. The word if is both your friend and your enemy. You can't just be lazy and say, if, that means it's a condition subsequent, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's what Blackman's all, right? These magic words. You need to actually read the conveyance start to finish. So many people do this on their exams. They, look, life estate followed by a fee simple subject condition subsequent. Look at me. I remembered the word if, right? I'm so smart, right? No, that's wrong. When I see that, okay, the student doesn't know what they're doing, but they remember the word but if. That was the only thing they remembered, and they screwed that up. Daniel, so we've said what the present interest is. In 1C, what's the future interest? What?
Ollie has a future interest and right of entry and fee simple.
Perfect. Very good. Ollie has a future interest and right of entry in fee simple. Daniel, how do you know that's the right answer? It says it right there. I told you. The other class, the guy was really working hard on this and he got it eventually, right? It's right there in black and white. It says, comma, Ollie has a right to re-enter Blackacre. 1 second, Krista. With a fee simple subject to condition subsequent, you are almost always, I never say always, but almost always going to list out what the future interest is. It's going to be the right of entry. Right of entry, right of re-entry, you call it they're called many things. But it's called a right of entry or right of re-entry. It says it right there in black and white. And it's a re-entry and fee simple. Kristen.
So you kind of answered, but I was gonna say, so it doesn't matter if we call it entry or
It's the same thing. Sometimes you write termination. They're called different things. I'll know what you mean. But the key point is, in almost every case, I won't say always, you spell out what the future interest is after the fee simple subject condition subsequent. You almost always write it out. So if you know nothing, right, you know what the future interest is here. It says it. You need to have some future interest because it's not a fee simple absolute. It's a fee simple defeasible. Everyone with me? Sophia, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. That was a little contingent, I should say.
I was just because, I mean, are you able to kind of use that as a clue?
Yes. There are going to be some questions where you don't even know what the present interest is. I'll give you what the future interest is. You have to work backwards. There are going to be some questions where the present interest is not clear, but you can figure out the future interest. You have to work backwards. Your head's going to spin. But it's true. Wait till Tuesday. You're doing okay. I mean, we're actually making good progress. About 5 minutes of the other class. I can actually track it down to the minute. You know, like in race cars, like how many seconds you have a lap, who's a lap leader, you're about 5 minutes of the other class. I know roughly where you are. Okay, move on. All right. Now, when I say right of entry, what does that actually mean literally? You have to go to court, right? If Blackacre is used for residential purposes, Ollie would go to court and sue Alex. Ollie would go to court and sue Alex, and he would say, hey, judge, I want you to declare the rights. I want you to say what the interests are. And the judge would say, yep, you're using this for residential purposes. It's not school purposes. Blackacre goes to Ollie in fee simple. But it's necessary to go to court. If Ollie never goes to court, Blackacre stays with Alex. And in fact, there's a statute of limitation that applies. If you don't do it for enough time, you actually lose it. So you have an incentive. If you see the conditions violated, you go to court. Another reason why this matters, at common law, you could not transfer a right of entry. It can only be inherited. At common law, you cannot transfer right of entry. It can only be inherited. Same for the other one, possibly reverter. So they stay in the family. You cannot convey. In modern rule, you can sell these, right? So if I ask you common law versus modern, under the modern regime, you can sell them. For example, like in Marinholtz, the common law rules you could not sell them. Everyone with me? So it really matters which one you have. Again, with the right of entry, you must exercise it in court. With the next one, we'll be talking about in a moment, it's automatic. Automatic. Yes, Alexa.
Which one did you say cannot be sold?
At common law, the right of entry cannot be sold inter vivos. Likewise, the possibility of reverter, which we'll get to in a minute, cannot be sold inter vivos. Modern rule, they can. Trey?
I might have misheard you, but did you say Ollie's future interest in the right of reentry and fee simple was also defeasible?
No, I don't think I said that. If I did, I said the wrong thing. No, the defeasible fee is what Alex has. Alex has a fee simple defeasible,
Okay.
which is a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. If I said something else, I apologize. I don't think I said that, but
I don't think
I misspeak sometimes. Everyone with me? Next, let's do example number 2. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes. So here, again, if I just put a period after Alex, Alex would have a fee simple, but I did not. I put a comma. And it says, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes. If you notice, it says nothing about Ollie here, right? In the first example, number 1C, I explain what happens to Ollie. This one, I say nothing. So Zach, what is the present interest here? What's the present interest called?
So Alex would have a present interest in fee simple determinable.
Excellent. Alex is a present interest in fee simple determinable. Zach, how do you know it's a fee simple determinable present interest?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
I know, I was gonna say, like you said, if you had ended it at just Alex, he would have a fee simple, just
Period.
absolute.
Correct.
And I guess it's determinable because it's subject to the, I guess that's a condition subsequent that comes after the comma.
Well, no. If there's a condition subsequent, then it's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. What in this sentence tells you it's a fee simple determinable?
So long, it means that he would have it in fee simple as long as he doesn't.
Is that a conditional word?
No.
What kind of word is that? How would we describe it so long as? What's that word in the book describes it as? Bailey? How would we describe so long as? Durational. Thank you. Excellent. Good job. Durational. Okay. So long as is a durational word. Over here we have conditional language. But if, provided, however, right? These are words that you use in logic. If this, then this, right? But with the fee simple determinable, we use durational language. For example, so long as, during, while, until. Right? So long as, during, while, until. This is language suggesting duration. When you have this sort of durational language, you do not have a fee simple subject condition subsequent. Why? There's no condition. Read it. There's no conditional language there. You don't see but if there. Instead, it says he gets to keep for a certain duration of time. The language really makes a difference here. It makes a huge difference. It's durational. It's not a condition. Everyone see that? So the present interest is a fee simple determinable. Caitlin, what is the future interest that follows the fee simple determinable? What's the possibility reverter? You're correct, by the way, right? Ollie has a possibility, a reverter, but why?
Ordinarily called by the transfer or his heir, and it's the possessory that occurs on that.
Okay, good. You need to memorize these pairings, right? When the present interest is a fee simple determinable, the future interest is a possibility reverter. Again, when the present interest is a fee simple determinable, the future interest is a possibility reverter. Memorize that. When the present interest is a fee simple subject to condition subsequent, the future interest is a right of entry. When the present interest is a fee simple subject to condition subsequent, the future interest is a right of entry. You need to memorize those. You have to memorize those. With the fee simple subject to condition subsequent, it tells you. It's usually right there. It's right of entry. For the fee simple determinable, it does not tell you. Look at number 2. It does not say what happens after Blackacre, after the condition, right? It does not tell you. You need to understand it's got to go somewhere. It goes back to the grantor, Ollie, who reserved himself a fee simple. Who reserved himself a possibility reverter. I got any other questions? A minute. Notice possibility reverter. Do not say possibility reversion. You're going to want to say it. Do not say possibility of reversion. That's not a thing. It's possibility of reverter. Okay, Trey, and then I can't remember who else.
Possibility of reverters in fee simple too, right?
Correct. Possibly reverter and fee simple. Yep, that's right. Is that your question?
Yeah, I just want to clarify.
Yeah, so possibility of reverter, is that like a kind of reversion? of-
No, they're not related at all.
Yeah,
no.
I knew that, I just wanted to.
Don't ask. No. I don't want anyone to put that in their notes. Guys, just scratch over here just what we said. No, they're not related at all. I wish there was some reason why that's such similar names, but they're not. They're different things. Right? Because again, reversion is after a natural termination. This is after a non-natural termination, it's after the feasible estate. So they're not related at all. They're not even distant cousins. They're complete strangers. Gabriel?
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So you said when the present interest is a fee simple subsequent to.
No. You just say it correctly. Be simple.
Subject to.
You have to say it.
Fee simple subject.
You gotta say it.
Subject to a condition subsequent.
Good. It's a mouthful, but you have to say it. Fee simple, subject to condition subsequent. Go on.
Fee simple subject to a condition subsequent to future interest is a right entry, but I thought I heard you say another similar definition right before that.
I don't know what I said. You just said it correctly. Yeah, Bree, did I say it wrong? I apologize if I did.
correctly. Were you asking about the present interest in fee simple determinable?
Guys, they're talking to me, not talking to each other. What was the question?
Sorry, I think he got that one, but then he was looking for the other definition for fee simple determinable.
So that
What future interest
with a
was.
fee simple determinable, the present interest is possibly reverter. Got it? Yeah, by the way, you guys are actually pretty good, but in other classes, there's crosstalk. The easiest way to piss off a judge is talking directly to opposing counsel. You always talk to the court. Just trust me in this one. Because once people start talking back and forth, it gets very hostile. So just pretend I'm, judge, whatever. Or tell people to judge, but just pretend I'm the court. Makes it easier. All right. Everyone get those two rules. Now, how does a possibly reverter differ from right of entry? The possibly reverter is automatic. The possibly reverter is automatic. There's no need to go to court. So in this case, as soon as school is used for residential purposes, goes to Ollie. Ollie has no need to go to court. Right? It's automatic. Why does that matter? Well, think of a case like Marinholtz, right? In Marinholtz, you need to know which remainder you have, which future interest you have. We'll get there in a minute. Everyone get these so far. Again, this is document 12B. It's in your notes. I've not given you anything novel. You've had all this for several days now. Everyone get it? I don't believe you. Oh, was that? Oh, I thought I was raising hand. Thumbs up, Kevin? Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, Deborah.
Do you have to, I know like in this question, the answer is always has a possibility of reverter and fee simple. In our definition for where present interest is fee simple determinable, the future interest is a possibility of reverter, do we also say in fee simple?
It's not always going to be fee simple.
So just possibility of reverter.
Look, I can give you a possibly reverter in life estate,
Okay.
which
So
would
for
be very
just-
mean, but I could do that. Sure, I could. Yeah, Harmon.
Is possibility of reverter just assuming it? Are we assuming it's future interest? Just right off the bat,
It
I don't
has
have
to
to
be.
necessarily say it.
The present interest is going to be fee simple of some sort, right?
Yeah.
The possibly reverter has to be future. There's no present interest in possibly reverter. That's not a thing.
So I don't have to say future interest.
You
Someone
can,
did,
you can say it. Yeah, I mean, you guys are also meticulous. I appreciate it. So he has a future interest. It's not necessary, but if you want to make your notes complete, sure. I think you're a present in. It's a present interest here. Okay. Yes, Tamika, go ahead.
Okay, so, because I'm just for my sanity. So the thing that I would put in the
I like that
middle
question.
is called a durational.
It's a durational word, right? Durational language. So long as, during, until,
Yeah.
while.
And that thing, I don't want to call it a condition because it's not a condition, but it's like Blackacre is used for school purposes. I guess.
That's the durational language. That's what we call it, durational language. I know you want to say condition because that's what it seems like, but don't say condition because it's going to lead you astray. Good question. I'm feeling confident. I think you guys are getting this well enough. I'm not sure, but I feel you're getting it enough. Look, I mean, I don't know. Daniel.
Just a question about language. If you were to say, for example, Blackacre for
from Ollie to Alex if Alex uses Blackacre for school purposes, what would that be?
That's actually a harder question. I don't want to do that one yet, because it would be something else. Because it's possible Alex can never actually get it. That would actually be an executory interest, which we'll do in class on Tuesday. You're asking a really good question, but there's gonna be a gap. Because let's say it takes them 5 years to build a school. Who owns Blackacre in 5 years? Probably Ollie. And then what actually happened is Alex would digest all his interest, which is something else. Good question. All right, let's talk about Marinholtz for a bit. All right, so we're running a little bit short on time, and we're probably gonna go over by a few minutes. I apologize. It's just today we're not gonna finish in time. The chart, which Trey mentioned, will take a few minutes. All right, so we have Marinholtz, right? A couple in Illinois own a lot of land, and they convey it. And they say, we're giving the school this land, we'll just call it school acre, make it easy. And it says, to be used for school purposes only, semicolon, otherwise to revert to grantors herein. To use for school purposes, semicolon, otherwise revert to the grantors herein. Johnny, I think you're next. So I'll call you in a minute. I'll get you in a bit, right? So this doesn't look, Gennady, let me ask you this question. Does this look like any of the questions we've done before, the sort of language we've used before? Does the phrase but if appear or provided, however? No. Is there a duration language like so long as or during or until? No. So how are we supposed to read this?
Well, I see the then part, so I was gonna assume it's be simple, subject to exposure limitations slash features.
I'm sorry, you gotta speak louder. I'm sorry.
Because it's not, I'm not assuming it's either be simple, subject to.
Okay, let me ask a question like this, Gennady. What are the two possible ways we can read this? What are the two options? What are the two possible defeasible fees we've studied so far? The two possible present interests. What are the two options that parties are fighting over?
Terminal and then subject to conditions that's split.
Okay, I couldn't fully hear, but I think I got it, right? So two ways of reading this one, right? The first is as a fee simple determinable. And the second is a fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. Right? A fee simple determinable and a fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. Those are the two ways of reading it. Right? The parties don't agree, and the courts actually were split. The lower court went one way, and the court of appeals went the other way. Becca, with a fee simple determinable, what is a future interest that links up with it?
So whether or not it can be cut short.
What's just as a matter of just general, what is the future interest that links up with a fee simple determinable?
Sorry, I can't hear today.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What is the future interest that links up with a fee simple determinable?
Oh,
What do we call it? We just did it 2 minutes ago. Okay, correct. A possibly reverter. What sort of words are usually associated with a possibly reverter, Becca?
so long as, during.
Very good. So long as, during, until. Do those words appear in this deed? They do not. One more question, Becca. Does a possibly reverter kick in automatically, or is it required to take certain steps by the future interest holder?
I would think it would kick in automatically.
Are you sure? Well, you're right, but I don't have time to interrogate it, but you're right. Okay? They say by the bell, as they say. It's automatic. Right? The very definition of a possibly reverter is it's automatic. You know, some law schools actually have bells. They actually have like dings between classes. I'm serious. I've been to law schools where like there's like a little sound between periods. I don't know. I've had it since high school. Right? Automatic. There's no steps needed to take by the grantors. Okay? Joel, what is the future interest that links up with a fee simple subject to condition subsequent?
Right of entry.
Okay, right of entry. What sort of language, Joel, is usually associated with the right of entry and the fee simple subject to condition subsequent.
Is it provided,
It's one of them.
however,
Good.
that when the premises and.
Good. Good. Okay. Joel, does any of that sort of language appear here?
No.
It does not. It does not. Last question, Joel. Is right of entry automatic? What must be done first?
Get the, go to court.
Go to court. Good. Thank you. So you see why difference, right? In this case, there were several attempts to convey a future interest. But under Illinois law, you could not, right? You could not convey a right of entry. You cannot convey a possibly reverter. You're not allowed to. Then we get down to 1977. We have Mr. Harry, who doesn't strike me as the brightest guy, right? This guy is weird. He's just like making the straight, for you, it's like Oprah, you get at school and you get at school, right? I don't know what he's thinking. He's not even the son, he was a stepson, right? So go figure. Harry, in 1977, first gives his future interest to the Marinholzes, okay? You could not convey a future interest, but he could convey a fee simple. If at that point the school had stopped using it for school purposes and it was a fee simple determinable, Harry had it in fee simple and he could sell his interest to the Marinholzes. So the Marinholzes favored option number one, right? I spelled that wrong, but I don't care, right? The Marinholzes favored option number one. If this was a fee simple determinable, the second the school stopped using it for classes, Harry had a fee simple. And then Harry can give his fee simple to the Marinholzes. The school district, however, favors option number two. Number two, that sounded weird. Option number two. Why option number two? Because if the fee simple subject to condition subsequent, nothing was conveyed to the Marinholzes. Harry never went to court. All he had was a future interest, which he could not sell. The court here, strangely, I think wrongly, actually, I don't agree with the majority here at all, picked option number one. Right? The court favored option number one. And they said, well, the word only kind of like a condition, kind of like a durational word. The phrase otherwise, kind of like durational. But I think really actually pushed them to the edge was the word revert. They saw revert and they said, revert, that's like possibly reverter. That must be what they wanted. I think this is actually conditional. I think only semicolon otherwise is conditional. Actually, I think the book makes this point as well. So I think this case was wrong. But the reason why this is, they're actually taking this case out of the book. It's my last time teaching it. Actually kind of sad. It's saying goodbye to someone you care about. This case illustrates the courts are often have a very hard time distinguishing different language in different conveyances. But the consequence is severe, right? By picking a fee simple determinable, you say, aha, Harry has fee simple, and he could convey to the Marinholzes. That's why this matters. Ultimately, it didn't matter because the court actually said using the school for storage is a school purpose, so the condition was never violated. Go figure. All right, so they kind of bailed out the school. All right, everyone see why there's a difference between A and B, number one, number two. Questions so far? All right, I have a chart. You're not going to like it. And by the way, again, I'm going to go over a few minutes over, maybe 2 or 3 minutes over, but I'm not going to finish on time. This chart, you're going to like it, but you're also going to hate it. The purpose of this chart is for you to understand, for every given present interest, there's going to be a future interest that might match up with it. And you have to understand how these relate. So let's just start the simplest one, fee simple. And I'm going to do this. I can't call people. It's going to take too long. I was like, this takes almost 30 minutes to fill out by calling you. I might do it in class on Monday or Tuesday. The A and his heirs, right? This is a classic fee simple. What is the duration? To infinity and beyond, right? Forever. Just Buzz Lightyear, a spin-off or something on Disney Plus. Whatever. Right, between spin-offs. Right? It lasts forever. Who has a future interest? The A's. I actually saw Toy Story in the theater when probably most people weren't even born yet. It was groundbreaking when it came. It was 95, 96, can't remember. Huge deal. Simple. It's A's errors, right? Okay, now we get to the harder one. Following a life estate, there are 3 and really maybe 4 possible options what comes after it. So let's do the simplest one. To A and his heirs. Then to B and his heirs. Right? What's the duration here? Life A. What's the future interest? A remainder. Okay? But it's not just a remainder. You can't just give me a remainder. It's a vested remainder. Why is it a vested remainder? B is ascertained. How do you know B is ascertained? Because I named him, right? He's named. He's right there. B is named. And there's no condition precedent. Yes, Maddie.
The words for life estate, that looks like fee simple.
What did I put? Oh, boy. Thank you. I saw the perplexed look in your face. I'm sorry about that. Pay for life. Oh, God, I'm sorry. It's, this might go quickly. I'm sorry. Thank you, Maddie, for correcting me. You're right. Am I good now? You think so? Boy, I'm in trouble. I hope so. So it's A, and it's correct in my notes. I just transcribed it wrong. I'm sorry. It's A for life, then to B and his heirs. Vested remainder. You have to say vested. Let's try another one. Okay, so let's say from O to A for life, then to A's children. And I tell you that A has no children. Okay, you just rip out your notes? Oh, sorry. Okay. Blame me for killing the trees. Okay, fine. So in this one, from O to A for life, then to A's children, we have here a contingent remainder. Why is it contingent remainder? Because the heirs are not, the future interests are not ascertained, right? There are no known children, it's contingent. There's no condition precedent here, but the children are not ascertained. Let's try a different one. From O to A for life, then to A's children, and I'll tell you that A has 1 child. Ah, well, that changes it. Right? That changes it. Because in this example, we have a vested remainder subject to open. Why is it a vested remainder subject to open? There is no condition precedent, and at least 1 child is ascertained, but more kids can be born into the class, so it's subject to open. So it matters a lot whether the child's ascertained or not. Okay, I'm not done yet. We got one more. To A, I got to scroll. To A for life, period. The shortest one is also probably the simplest one. The future interest is at OS reversion. Right? OS reversion. It's a future interest following the natural termination, goes back to the grantor. You should be able to do all 4 of these in your sleep. Right? Go back and forth. If I just give you the text, you should know what the future interest and what the present interest is. Because you're not always going to have all the information. You might know what the future interest is, but you don't know what the present interest is. You have to sort of just piece it together like a puzzle. Okay, with me so far. Half the class. I may actually finish on time, almost. All right, fee simple determinables next. So use an example, right? For O to school, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes, right? The future interest that's linked there is O has a possibility of reverter in fee simple. Okay, and how do you know it's a fee simple determinable? The language uses durational. so long as, while, during, until. Okay. Critically, the possibly reverter is automatic. It cuts right away. There's no need to go to court. All right. Last one, actually, we'll finish on time. The fee simple subject to condition subsequent. From O to school for, from O to school, but if Blackacre is used for residential purposes, O has a right of entry. And it tells you there, the future interest O has a right of entry. This present interest is defined by conditional words, but if, provided, however, on a condition, etc. And it's not automatic. We'll do the next row in class on Tuesday. Look at that, 3:30, actually finished on time, holy cow. All right, Joel, what's your question?
I'm a little confused because.
Just a little?
I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think you said to A for live was a fee simple, but now you're saying it's a life.
She already corrected me. Maddie corrected me a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Day for life.
No, like on the bottom, to A for live.
Where are you seeing that?
Fourth one of the bottom. Scroll over, right?
A little more.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Day for life. Oh, sorry, O to life. I'm sorry. No, Day for life. That's right. That's life estate.
Okay, I thought before you said that's the fee.
No, I said to A, just to A period. Guys,
Yeah.
Okay.
My
Yep.
bad, thank you.
You're welcome. Now we good? All right, I'll start the exit poll. I'm sure you have lots of questions. So if you want to put anything in, tell me. I'll be in my office. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, sure. 6:23, I'll be at my office. You want to come say hi? Please get, before class on Tuesday, try to fill in this chart from memory. I'm serious. If you can fill this chart from memory, you're in business. If you can't, you're in trouble. All right, good luck. Yes.
Just to clarify really quick, the last thing you said, if I were to say to O to A period, that's presumed that it's a
Fee simple. Yeah, that was Joel's question. I think I misheard him the first time. I was like, let me turn the camera off. I don't like having you guys on the screen. It's okay. Yes.